now setting up a new federal agency to protect consumers. Jeffrey Brown has our Newsmaker interview.
Perhaps the most contentious among government responses to the financial crisis of the last few years was the creation of the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection. And perhaps the most polarizing figure in that debate is the woman whose idea it was and who was recently appointed to get it going, Elizabeth Warren. A professor at the Harvard Law School, Ms. Warren served as head of a congressional panel that kept an eye on government bailout funds, and she joins me now. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
So, after years of writing and talking about this, here you are. What's the first priority? When would consumers know that this agency now exists?
Oh, they know now.
They know.
They know in part because this agency does not exist because there was some interest group behind it, because there was a ton of lobbying money behind it. They know because the only reason this agency exists is because millions of American families said, hey, yeah, that really sounds like a sensible deal. That's a part of financial regulatory reform that I think is important and could make a difference in my life. They are the best allies of this agency. They are the owners of it.
So what's the priorities? What do you do first? I mean,
well,
and is your authority clear about what you do?
So I think the priority is to keep in mind what the end goal is. And the end goal here is on financial products, these credit products, so that American families can evaluate how much they cost, can see the risks in them, and can easily compare one product to another. And that means what these products have to be is short and easy to read and very clear in their terms, not buckets and buckets of fine print in between, you know, clause 16 and clause 17 lurks something else that will come out and bite you.
Well, in fact, you've been very blunt in the past, and even recently used that term tricks and traps of the banking industry. So this is what you're still after, and you're not backing away from any of that.
I'm not only not backing away from any of that, what I'm really doing is reaching out to the banking industry and saying, some of you want to find another way to compete for your customers. Some of you have tried to put good products out there, but those products get overshadowed by the ones that are full of tricks and traps, the folks who can pretend to offer you 0% financing, when the reality is they know they're going to make the money through the back door. So what I hope this is about is something that's good for families, and quite frankly, something that's also good for the financial institutions that are really willing to do head-to-head competition and serve those families.
Well, I introduced you as a polarizing figure, and in fact, there was lots and lots of opposition to you taking this from the financial sector, from Wall Street, from many Republicans. Do you have a lot of fence mending to do here, and how are you doing that?
You know, I suppose people would say I have a lot of fence mending to do, but the truth is I just don't see it that way. What I see is that I'm here to help markets work for consumers. And that means lots of transparency. That means really being able to read and evaluate those products. That means some financial institutions are going to do very well. Those who are really not afraid of the competition, who are really ready to come in and say, look, apples to apples, here's what I offer, and I'm willing to compete for my customers. Not by tricking them, but I'm willing to compete by giving them better customer service, giving them lower prices, doing cool new iPhone apps. Knock yourself out on competition. Just do it in a way that the customer can see it. Don't do it in a way that surprises the customer through fine print, because that's never good news.
Now, I said you've been appointed to get this agency going. In fact, the President named you a special advisor to the White House and Treasury, and that was widely seen as a way of avoiding what would be expected to be a contentious Senate confirmation hearing.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. So look, there are two jobs on the table, and they were always there by statute. One, certainly, is the director of the agency. That's a confirmation process. In a world of secret holds in which one senator can keep you from coming to the floor for debate, that would be a very long time, likely for this agency, for anybody who got named. And as the President explained to me very clearly, during that process, if I were nominated, I wouldn't be allowed to talk about the agency, and I wouldn't be allowed to do anything to help getting it stand up. There is a second job that was available, and it's clear in the statute. Somebody is supposed to get out there and get that agency going. And the truth is, one has a cool title, but the other one gets to work right now.
So is it an interim position that you've got?
I have a job for as long as the president wants me to have this job.
Now, so it's not an end run around getting the
It's a
job.
different job.
You don't see it that way?
No,
Different
I
job.
mean, it's in the
And
statute.
a director will be named.
Of course, of course.
Now, the opposition, the critiques continue to come. Just the other day in the op-ed piece in the New York Times, William Cohen noted the agency will cost about $500 million a year. He says that's a lot of, quote, a lot of money for taxpayers to fork over every year to support a new government bureaucracy designed to protect us from our own worst impulses. Now, that's the continuing, we've heard this for a while now. People made mistakes, right? People took mortgages they shouldn't have taken, or they got credit, they accepted credit they shouldn't have taken. And you're going to be out there to help that?
No. So let me start with a couple of pieces. The first one is about the cost. We're not going to let this one slip by. The cost is designated as 10% of what the Federal Reserve gets, what the Fed gets. And the reason for that is, remember, the Fed all along had the power to protect American consumers, to clean up the consumer credit market, and the Fed failed to spend it and spend their money in that way. And so the notion is, you say in effect to the Fed, okay, Fed, 90% of your job is what it always was, it's monetary policy and all that other cool stuff. 10% is set aside for consumer issues. And that's what this agency is about, and that's the money it will get. This is not about spending new money. But the second part of your question.
But that's now going to be, you're saying now that will be
now
spent.
It's designated, and it will be spent not in general monetary policy, it'll be spent on consumer issues. And I think that's good. Okay. But the second one, this question about personal responsibility, you know, I really just want to say here, let's be clear. This is not about an agency that comes in and says, oh, you shouldn't spend money at the mall, or you should do this, or you shouldn't do that. This is about making sure that families have the power to make good decisions, that they can see the contracts, they can see what the stuff costs, and they can get a competitive market to start working for them. They can compare, right now, try it. Compare 4 credit card contracts and tell me which one's more expensive. You literally can't do it. I don't care how long you pore over it. Pages and pages and pages of fine print. You'll never figure out the cost.
Your hope is to get that down to
I want to get it down very short, and I want people to be able to say, oh, that's the cheap one. Because when that starts to happen, people make better decisions, better personal responsibility, but they also have a market that's driving down cost right at the margin for what it is to produce it.
All right, Elizabeth Warren, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.